All right, so welcome to our ACTO forum call for this month, for May. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, from wherever you are. I see some evening folks. So these monthly calls are proudly presented each month by ACTO's Education Committee as an opportunity for learning, for connection, and professional development. So ACTO, if you are not familiar, is a worldwide community inspiring excellence in coach training. We're a community of professionals who bring coach training to aspiring coaches around the world. If you are not a member of ACTO and you would like to consider it, please go to actoonline.org to read all about membership and its benefits. And as you know, this call today is a teaser for our conference, which is coming up very, very soon, June 8th to 10th in Toronto. Still time to register if you would like to. And we have many representatives here who are going to be at the conference, as well as our hardworking conference chair, Carol Harris-Fike. And I'm going to turn it over to her right now to do a quick introduction to this call specifically, and then we'll get started. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here and for a few of our speakers to be here to give you a little teaser. As Hallie said earlier, she's watching the clock, so all of them get to speak, and she may cut them off mid-sentence. So you'll have to come here to the end of the sentence at the conference in just 3 weeks from today. Woo! Or tomorrow, whatever day it is. Anyway. It's on Thursday, begins on Thursday. So our conference theme is creating the outcome. What do we as coach trainers want to do to support our students and ourselves in creating an outcome for the world? And we had so many proposals this year, I think more than ACTO's ever had. It was difficult to choose because we wanted, with this theme, to go deeper if you so choose. We had different threads that you can follow and go deeper if you want to hear more than one speaker on a thread, or if you want the whole variety and then check out things later and have contact with these people at breaks or dinners or lunches or whatever, you can do that too. Our themes are inclusivity, and we have some speakers for that, and we have a keynote for that. I'm not going to give details because of our time. Coaching presence. How do schools teach coaching presence? How does that make a difference in how we train our students? Organizational coaching, an insider's view. That's a keynote from Hershey Company, from the coordinator or the whatever she is of coaching in a company, because we have more and more of our students going in to coach in organizations. A thread of that continues on is group coaching is becoming more and more common. We have 2 experts in group coaching who will do breakouts. How to work with a group. One of them is really going to focus on how to do it on Zoom or some other virtual platform. And then we have some methods in practice, some science of coaching about the neuroanatomy of learning, which is what we're all about as educators in coach schools, and practices such as we have a speaker this morning on a meditation he uses with his students in coach training, and visual metaphors for the core competencies. Just expand that to all the markers. Wow, what could that be? That'll be exciting. And then we have the last thread, supporting beginning coaches in building business. We have 2 experts in that who have programs and support around that, because I'll speak for my school. We always do the best job. We're doing better, but we can always learn more. So, Hallie, are you going to want me to introduce the speakers, or you've got it?
I got it.
Thank you.
All righty. Thanks, Carol.
See you soon, everybody. I hope.
Yes. So our first speaker on our call today, to give you a little tease about one of the threads that Carol just mentioned, is Deepa Ewal. Deepa, I hope I said her name right, is an executive coach with a passion for creating transformational learning opportunities for her clients and students. And she's in the adjunct faculty at Fielding University and a program coach with UFail Network. She mentors students, facilitates learning of coaching skills, and in addition, she works with a diverse group of senior executives in India and in the USA. And she's on the executive coaching bench of several universities, including Wharton and Villanova. So she's going to speak to us today about the use of self in coaching. What, why, and how.
Thank you, Hallie. Thank you. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Great. So my intention today is to share a little bit about why this topic was of interest to me. I did a piece of research, a very small sample, but I want to share what I learned from that. And I want to, last of all, really address what are some implications for us as educators. And I'm only going to touch the surface of all of these areas because I have 15 minutes. So beginning with why the interest in this topic really originated with myself. In 2000, I approached Newfield Network and registered as a student for the coach training. And the impetus for that really came from my own urge to develop. And this development, what was really attracting me was the self-awareness piece. I had had some exposure to that kind of learning, but not a whole lot. I came from a background of organization behavior, having a degree in that, doing a research that was very much about construct validity and an empirical piece of research. I really had mostly been exposed to what in the field is called assimilative learning rather than transformational learning. So when I came to Newfield, it was, I knew I was in for a surprise. And I was surprised. The learning was very what became obvious to me is that I can generate my learning, what emanates from understanding my own assumptions, beliefs, emotions, somatics. There's a wealth of information that if I pay attention to, it can really add value. It also became apparent that this learning is generative in the sense that it applies to all domains of my life. So it was a very exciting time of development and growth. And having completed my coach education, and built a business, I'm now working primarily a lot with students, not primarily, but a lot with students. Both as a capacity, in my capacity as adjunct faculty at Fielding, as well as being on the coaching bench of universities where I'm coaching MBA students. And what I'm noticing is that when things are addressed in a way that my client is engaged, which to me, what I'm seeing is the learning is linked to their agenda. They are invested emotionally, and they are being invited by me as a coach to explore their psychology and their biology. By that, I mean assumptions, beliefs, their soma, etc. So what is becoming apparent as I watch this is that awareness or self-awareness is a key ingredient, not only to the engagement, but to the success of the engagement. So that's what really prompted me to ask the question, what are we as coach training institutes offering to our students in this arena of self-awareness and the who of the coach, so to speak? I'd like to share what I learned. I approached 6 institutions and I spoke to either founders of these institutes, or I spoke to senior instructors at these institutes, and principally asked very simple questions, 3 questions that had to do with: how does your curriculum address and support your coach students in building self-awareness? How do you do this? And what value does it add? So I want to share the themes that emerged from all 6 institutes. So give me a moment. I will share my screen and we will take it from there. Do you see it? Sorry, I'm on the wrong screen at the moment. Now I'm on the right screen. Okay. So, shared themes. Across the board, self-awareness is seen as the foundation for building competencies. Coach training institutes are not seeing the competencies as separate from self-awareness. They're seeing them as going hand in hand. And let me give you some examples of things that I heard pertaining to that. I heard a very powerful statement which said, competency is not like a pill they swallow, meaning coach students. It is a place they operate from. I also heard, if someone is centered in the self, they can be of better service to their clients. I also heard, if you know about your stuff, which is who you are, you can listen in different ways and ask questions from different perspectives. So it became clear that self-awareness cannot be separated from the competencies we as coaches are expected to embody. Second theme that emerged, it is important for students to be able to recognize and manage their own emotions, biological responses, values, cultural biases, and spiritual beliefs. And what I heard in this context, to quote some people, stepping away from our own patterns of preferences, assessments, and models is essential for cultivating the self of the coach. Another participant said, coach students need to be able to recognize and manage their own biological responses. Another one said, cultivating the witness aspect of ourselves. So once again, it is awareness of own emotions, biological responses, values, cultural biases, and spiritual beliefs that seems to underpin the success that we have as coaches in our work with our clients. And a final theme that emerged, we are training students to be coaches, not do coaching. And this was, again, a very powerful statement because it really brings home in a very succinct manner what we as coach instructors and facilitators and founders and teachers are really focusing on. And I share these themes. There were several others, but I share these because these arose in almost every interview I did. So I want to just stop here and see if there are any questions, and then I'll go on to speak a little bit about how coach training institutes are doing this.
You have about 5 minutes, Deepa. So
Okay, then we're going to keep going. What coach institutes are doing? Students receive coaching from a professional coach in some places, in some schools. Personal reflections, structured reflections, journaling is emphasized in almost every school. Guided visualizations, exercises like defining life purpose, somatic practices, recognizing biological responses, mindfulness exercises, experiential exercises like monologues, repeated questions, case studies, creating a safe place for having intimate conversation, giving a name and voice to fundamental concerns people have, using self-assessment tools, mentoring, some instances of what coach institutes are doing to develop self-awareness. So what are the implications of this? I'm going to go back to what are the implications of this? I made a note of one or two things, and the invitation here is there are probably many more implications that I cannot see, but I'll quickly share what's coming up for me. One is that we as coach instructors have to embody what we are teaching. There's no separation between us and our students. A beautiful quote I heard the other day is, which I will share with you. It's apparently attributed to Pema Chodron. We work on ourselves in order to help our clients. We work with our clients in order to help ourselves. There's really no separation. We're all in this human condition together. A second implication for me is that as coach instructors, it would be helpful to include psychobiological awareness practices, which to me implies somatic practices and mindfulness practices. These are two that instantly come to mind. There may be many others, but these are two that stand out for me. The third theory that seems to be relevant and implied implicitly in many of the things coach institutes are doing is the subject-object distinction. Originally put out by Metzero in 1978, basically it is stating that the more we can make object in our awareness, the more capacity we have to respond to situations. And I could really go on and on about this, but the only thing I will sort of also share with you is that Robert Keegan has done a lot with this, as also Jennifer Garvey and others who are working with adult development theories. And that seems to have tremendous pertinence for us as coach educators. It gives us perspective. So I will stop here and all yours.
We do have time for a couple question or two, if anybody's got comments or questions.
Deepa, I'm curious, it's Eileen, curious if you have a resource or recommendation perhaps of Keegan's or Garvey's that you recommend that would be particularly instructive for us to read as we're working through some of what you're describing here.
Very good question, Eileen. I do plan to have a resource list at the end of, share that with the group when I do the presentation. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me of that.
Yeah, that would be very helpful.
There's the tease. You have to come to the conference to get the resource list.
Yes.
Not totally true. We will put them up on the website. So if you can't come, Nancy, you'll still get them.
Great. Any other thoughts? Any other reactions? Any ways I can sort of embellish or improve, or really anything at this point?
I would just like to say thank you for bringing this forward. I'm on the Adler faculty, and we very much subscribe to this thinking and very much have part of our program the essence of what you were talking about here. And it's interesting, though, what we're finding today is a lot of younger people going through the program are somewhat irritated about that piece of it. They just want what they think is the competencies, and I want to be trained in how to be a coach, and they're not as receptive to that as people have been in the past. So we're finding that very surprising. They want this fast-track way, and they don't really want to do the self-reflection as much as we did in the past. So I don't know if any of the other schools are finding that that's showing up.
Yeah, at Fielding, we have a very mature population. You know, they're principally in the age range of 30 to 60. So not seeing a lot of that. But is the population you're speaking to younger than that, William?
Yeah, I'm talking about people in their 20s now that are coming into this as a profession and really want it to be their long-term profession. And they're usually in corporations where they are now looking at this as a field to move into. And I don't know, maybe that's because they are younger, that they haven't got as much life to reflect on. But I mean, we all have beliefs and assumptions that we're carrying around. So what are yours? And, we always say that we as the coach are the main tool. And if we as the main tool are not understanding how we're impacting our client, then we really are minimizing the opportunity of what we can do with it.
Yeah, I found a similar experience where it's more of a question where I think the coach to be doesn't understand what coaching is, and so they think they're coming to tell someone what to do, so they in turn want us to tell them what to do. Just tell me how to do this thing that I'm going to do when I'm telling people what to do. Don't bother about me. And so, yeah, and it doesn't seem to be particular to age. It seems more a characteristic of a misunderstanding of what coaching is, in my experience.
Well, that we sort of
have to educate them before you can educate them. That's the challenge.
Yeah. Well, we invite them to drop all of their assumptions right off the bat about coaching. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that that's a big part of it. But and I guess no matter how you try to impress, it takes time to learn this process. Especially intelligent people who their experience has been to learn things fast, and I would throw myself in that group of wanting to learn it faster than slower. But certainly at some point there was the realization that, hey, it's going to take some time to really get this. And get yourself too. I mean, that's the other piece of it, is really understanding how you're operating as that coach and what are you bringing.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I want to thank you again for how articulate you were with this, Deepa. It was very resonating for me to hear those.
All right, we need to.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deepa. Thanks for your questions, William. And we need to move on. So thank you. And our next speaker is David Wolf, and he's going to be speaking to us about mantra meditation and transformative coaching. So David is the founder of, I'm going to get this wrong, Sattva Institute. Oh, you're on mute.
Sattva Institute.
Okay, great. Of transformative coaching, and he's facilitated seminars and workshops internationally for more than 35 years. The world leader in the field of mantra meditation, and has published extensively in top social science and mental health journals. David is the author of Relationships That Work, The Power of Conscious Living, How Transformative Communication Can Change Your Life. And he has been featured on communication as a communications expert on media outlets such as CNN and Fox. So, David, please. So, over to you.
Thank you. Yes, well, hearing Deepa's presentation, I'm remembering a presentation I gave. It was about 2 years ago this month. It was in Colorado it was at a veterans hospital, and it was a presentation on transformative coaching, and it was doctors, nurses, also social workers, and different faculty and staff, and anyhow, I started the presentation. I said, okay, let's say someone comes to you and says, I hurt my finger. So I said, so just in that phrase, my finger, there's two entities. There's the finger and there's the owner of the finger. So I asked them, who are you treating? Are you treating the finger or the owner of the finger? And then the director of the hospital was there. And he said, well, David, that's such a simple question, but we've never thought about that. So I emphasized, I said, well, it seems important because, you know, actually in the finger, there's no healing potency in the finger. The finger essentially is made of the same stuff as this table or the window shade. The healing potency is in that non-physical entity that's the owner of the finger. So for me, that so much relates to the self-awareness component that Deepa was emphasizing. Often in our coach training courses, we'll begin. Well, we emphasize that we're not, you know, training simply communication or coaching skills. It's a communication-based approach to self-realization. Sometimes we'll ask, we'll say, imagine you're looking at a photo of yourself from when you were 5 years old. Okay, now when you look at that photo, do you say, who is this stranger? Who is this person? No, I say, that's me, that's David when I was 5. That's Jeffrey, that's Jane, that's Marie. When I was, now we know from chemistry, we know from science that the physical has completely changed, yeah? There's not one molecule, not one atom in the body now that was there when we were 5. The physical has completely changed, yet there's still some constant identity that I call David, or you call Jason or Sally. And for me, that points to that essence of that self-awareness component, whether it's training coaches. So we're endeavoring to be with the client where they're at, full empathy, full presence, while speaking to that spark, that unchanging non-physical spark that animates the body. And the nature of that spark is that it's naturally wanting to grow and broaden its horizons. And so in the 1990s, when I was doing my PhD work, I studied the effects of mantra, the effects of chanting ancient mantra. When I say ancient mantra, it means from authorized sources. The name of our institute, Sattva, comes from two words from ancient traditions. Sattva, from the ancient Sanskrit, indicates goodness or enlightenment. Like English words like saint or satisfied come from the Sanskrit sattva. And tov means something similar in the tovut, in the biblical Hebrew language. So we're endeavoring to bring self-awareness and enlightenment through the programs of the Sattva Institute School of Transformative Coaching. So I did research on the effects of mantra chanting on stress, on depression, on life satisfaction, on verbal aggressiveness. And I published in many social science research journals. And so that was in the 90s. And I was inspired to do that research from my experience going back a long time to the early 80s, when I found that meditation technique, the meditation approach of mantra, for me, it was more effective compared to other types like silent meditation and things like that. I find that I have a very active mind. And this was a meditation approach that it wasn't about like shutting down the senses or mind. It was about practical engagement. In a sense, any multimedia presentation, what's the principle? The principle is that the more senses engage in an object, the more senses engage in an activity, the easier it is for the mind and consciousness to focus. So with mantra meditation, the tongue is engaged, the faculty of speech, the faculty of hearing. And when we use beads, and that's at the conference in Toronto, I'll be presenting on training coaches to train clients on how to do what's called japa mantra meditation. Japa, it's sort of like a rosary. This is an example of a set of japa beads on this particular strand. there's 108 beads, actually 109. One is used as a marker, and so we'll train how to train coaches to engage clients as appropriate according to proper discretion. If there's a client who a coach thinks might benefit from this. And so I've been engaged in mantra meditation. Mantra is also, mantra comes from the Sanskrit, like the English word mind comes from the Sanskrit mana. That's the first syllable. And the second syllable, tra, means to extricate or to free or to liberate. So mantra is sound vibration that frees the mind from illusion, from material entanglement, from mundane distress. And so I found that personally, that by engaging in some rigorous way in this mantra meditation, I experienced deeper fulfillment, clarity about life purpose, inner peace, significant reduction of stress levels, enhanced enthusiasm. And so I researched this in my PhD days and published about it. And then in the Safetov Institute School of Transformative Coaching, we have a course called Mantra Meditation and Transformative Coaching, training our coach trainees to use the process themselves if they're interested, and to use it in coaching. And I've been using it in my coaching with hundreds of clients, and almost without exception, they find it's a very auspicious complement and supplement to their self-awareness, personal growth process. So at the presentation in Toronto, I'll enter more fully into both the philosophical foundations and the practical applications of mantra meditation in coaching. So plenty more I could speak about, and I thought I could pause here if anyone has any questions or comments.
Hi, David. This is Kathy Harmon. And I find this fascinating. I've started using japa meditation, but I have trouble with the mantras.
Yeah.
And so my question for you is, do the mantras tend to always be in some language other than English?
Mm-hmm. They don't need to be. There's a prominent mantra meditation researcher is Jill Borman, and she does research with veterans, particularly veterans who suffer from PTSD. She's based in San Diego. She's published extensively, and she'll have veterans and she works at the Veterans Hospital in San Diego. She's been doing this for decades, and so she'll have a list of mantras for them to choose from. And like if they're not comfortable with like a mantra from the Latin, the Hebrew, or the Sanskrit, she does have mantras in English. And so now it's not that we can choose anything and say that's my mantra. At the same time, there are effective mantras in diverse languages. Now, when I say it's not that we can choose anything, I'm talking based on research. For example, in my research, I did both single system design and group research. And in one of our group research, we had an authorized mantra based on the ancient Vedas called the Maha Mantra. And we had a control group who didn't chant anything. And we had another group who chanted what I'll call a bogus mantra that I just kind of made up some nonsense syllables, but the practitioners thought it was a real mantra. And the chanters of the genuine mantra the results in terms of decreasing stress, increasing life satisfaction were statistically significantly much greater than the other two groups, including the placebo mantra. So it's not that we can make up anything. At the same time, research has indicated there are, I'll call it, authentic mantras in diverse languages, including English.
One more question, and I guess this is, will you be going into this in your presentation, is using this kind of meditative mantras with clients. Exactly how do you present it to clients, and how they are able to embrace that? Will you be going into that in your presentation?
I will.
Okay.
I will, and basically, of course, it depends on the client, and if I sense that they're interested, because oftentimes I'll get clients who they do meditation, but like they're feeling not real satisfied. They're finding it difficult to control the mind, and then I might say, okay, here's something I'm familiar with for 38 years. If you're interested, so of course conscious that I'm not imposing anything. At the same time, like let's say if a client's having challenges with like debilitating stress levels, panic attacks, I might suggest, well, personally, my research in publishing and my personal practice, there's a method. If you're interested to experiment with it, then I'll show you this method. So basically, inviting the client's permission, and if they're enthusiastic, and then I'm ready to introduce this approach.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Any other yes.
One more question if we have it.
Yes, and so at the presentation in Toronto, again, there's numerous authentic mantras based on research and ancient wisdom tradition. Because I don't want it to be too, I don't want it to be diffused, I'll focus on one particular mantra there called the Maha Mantra, which is called in the ancient Vedas the great, like a great, it's actually described in the Vedas as a most recommended way for self-realization, for self-awareness, particularly in this age. This age is called Kali Yuga. In the Vedas, there's a verse that goes, Idi Shada Shakam Nam Nam Kalakamashanashanam, which describes that this Maha Mantra is especially recommended for self-realization in this age. And so I'm gonna focus on that mantra as to give like a focused experience in the Toronto presentation.
Right. Thank you very much, David. All right. On to our next presenters. Okay, so now we're going to have Eileen Blumenthal and Barton Cutter talk to us about creating mutual inclusivity, the art of making coach training accessible to students with unique abilities. So first, Eileen. Eileen is a seasoned professional with 20 years experience as a consultant, presenter, trainer, executive coach. She's working with diverse individuals and teams. She combines a values-based and results-driven approach with an impressive track record of strengthening leadership, collaboration, communication, decision-making, and alignment across diverse constituencies. Eileen and partner Barton is a leadership coach, inclusion expert, and national speaker. Barton combines his uncompromising wit, experience of living with cerebral palsy, and passion for coactive coaching and leadership to support corporations and visionary leaders in leveraging individual and team talent through inclusive program design and coaching. I will turn it over to the two of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Barton and I will blend and lead together as we will at the conference, and Barton's empowered me to begin. So thanks for this opportunity. Wanted to just take a moment to reference and source actually some of the competencies, the ICF competencies that we hope will be present here in this talk and also during our presentation. And at CTI, where Barton and I are both affiliated, there's the co and the active, the being and the doing. So I just want to bring to mind sort of the co of the competencies around creating trust, awareness, presence, and intimacy, which we hope to do in our session, but also want to invite in the active of direct communication, powerful questions, and for today and at the session, especially active listening. And to get us present, we wanted to take a moment, and I want to invite you just to join us in getting present. Close your eyes if you'd like. But just take a moment to say, in this quiet space, we're taking a moment to reacquaint ourselves with the wholeness of who we truly are. We invite you to notice the sense of your body in contact with the chair, the floor, the rise and fall of your breath, in and out, in and out. And allow yourself to drop into these subtle rhythms. And as you do, let your thoughts, impressions, even sense of self fade away. With each breath, in and out, let yourself fill more space. Fill the room. Fill all of Zoom. North America, the Earth, the solar system, the Milky Way, the universe, and bigger still. And now, coming back, slowly opening your eyes, notice what's present here and now.
Thank you. So, with that, on to offer some, some content for our session. Oftentimes we approach conversation from the lens of deficit. We try to fill the gap around a perceived disability rather than addressing the expression of holiness that is present in every person. So, yes, within the last moment or two, I want to invite some comments about what you all are noticing about what's here for you now.
Yeah. So I'll blend with Barton. Another word, the word that we really want you to hold during the rest of our time is wholeness. And what we're up to at CTI is creating a deeper learning experience by embracing the wholeness of all. And as Barton mentioned, in so doing, shifting the notion of accommodation as taking care of limitations, and instead really creating opportunities for a deeper experience of wholeness. So to reinforce, to invite Barton's question here, as we get into the conversation around wholeness, like, what are you noticing in terms of your own assumptions? And here I invite you to take yourselves off mute. And when you think of unique abilities that our students have, or what we perceive as challenges, and get in touch with our own assumptions around the learning that happens when we embrace the wholeness of all, what assumptions are present for you?
Hi, Eileen. This is Kathy.
Thanks.
And Barton. It's interesting coming to mind. There's a case study that I'll be talking about with a student that I have that is very enthusiastic, but he's not doing what needs to be done to continue his studies. And what you just said kind of clicked with me. And that whole embracing the wholeness of that student and the beauty of that student, instead of just, oh my gosh, what am I going to do to help this guy move forward?
Yeah.
That just opens up whole new realms of ways of thinking about that. So I appreciate that question. Thank you.
Yeah. And you know, I love what you're talking to, because if there is often such a temptation to see the deficits and want to make up for that by going so far beyond what we need to. It looks disempowering the individual. So I'm wondering what else are we making up around disability?
Did people get the question?
What else are we making up about disability?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have experience in our school. We have programs. I'll just use one example where we have people who are visually impaired, so basically legally blind. And it's been amazing. It's in our Chicago program. It's been amazing the dimensions that it's opened up in the students and the trainers' use of language. Because even things like, do you see? No, I actually don't. But I sense, I experience, and the way that they listen and the way that they experience the world is different but it's opened up whole new dimensions for the students and the trainers in that program.
Yeah.
That's great, Hallie. That has totally been our experience at CTI as well. And part of our intention in our session is to have a powerful, profound demonstration of that for people to experience the power in embracing that sort of learning for all of us.
Yeah.
Barton completed, if I may, Barton completed our whole certification program, and his peers in his pod, in his cohort, reported that their listening, as a result of going through the training with Barton, was so deepened beyond what they could have imagined in terms of powerful, profound listening. So we want to really, we want to shift what we're up to in our accessibility project at CTI, and want to kind of spread through the industry or share all the efforts that are currently in place, is really shifting this perception of needing to accommodate a limitation, and instead, as we've discussed, like having other students experience the power of what you described, Hallie. So if there's one visually impaired or blind student in the training, maybe every student closes their eyes and we ask, now what do you see?
Yeah.
And the ability to sense in that moment deepens in a way that is difficult to replicate.
Yeah. And just give a simple example of how it impacts the competency. Consider for a moment how the use of metaphor transforms without having the visual field available.
Absolutely. The use of metaphor without having the visual field. You know, I want to speak just to perhaps what's present here, and to thank ACTO for the opportunity for us to join in this. Is that Barton and I have sort of a stake in the ground that some of the greatest learning lives in discomfort and in challenge. And we know that ACTO's willingness to provide this learning opportunity could create some discomfort or challenge. And we're up for it. And we trust you are as well.
Yes.
And yeah, Barton?
Yeah. Just to build on that, we know that my speech may not be the most easy understandable, but I would offer you to the explanation around what's happening to your attention just in the last 5 minutes of having to listen to me versus another.
Yeah, I'll follow up on that. Like, what, if anything, are you noticing in your attention and your listening as we speak? Yeah, Deepa.
Yeah, I'm finding myself listening with my whole body. It's like attention, and total attention.
Well,
This is Carol, what I have noticed is I'm understanding better because I'm listening with my whole body, but also the word allowing keeps coming up, and it's from the first question that Barton that you asked. It is allowing you to be who you are, the whole of you, the wholeness, and for me to be the wholeness of me, and then I can connect. If I want to fix you or help you or wait just a minute, that word, am I right? Too much, I would do, that would just mess it all up. You wouldn't get to finish your thought. So allowing is real important for me, and that's what happened, and I understand better. I connect better.
So if I reference back to some of the competencies, like I'm just mindful here of awareness and trust and intimacy, presence, that that really lands in this allowing, in this whole body listening and being.
So, if we open ourselves to this bonus as it pertains to unique ability, what becomes possible, not just for our students, but also for our individual schools and our industry as coach training. How many of you got that?
Yeah, imagine all of the unique abilities that can find expression in the coach training industry, as Barton has so powerfully, as each of us has in our own unique expression of our humanity. Who gets to be coaches, who we reach, what the impact is of our coaching. This is the mutual inclusivity we're trying to create through our work and our session.
You've really done it.
You've
really done it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I think we've reached the end of our time. Thank you, Eileen. Thank you, Barton. And thank you to all of our speakers, Deepa and to David. Thank you all for being here today, and very much look forward to seeing you at the conference if you will be there. And thanks for being on this call. And just to let you know that this is the last forum call until after the summer. I believe we have another one starting in August. So giving you a little bit of a time off, June at the conference, July, vacation. And then we'll pick this back up again in the early fall. Thank you very much for being here, and we will see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.